everyone. I'm Esther Kovac, and I am the co-founder of DroneTalks. And today I am here with Zehra Akbar, who is the Chief Strategy Officer of SkyGrid. Hi, Zehra. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Esther. Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. So, me and Zehra has some, background. We attended together at a panel in Las Vegas in September called Women Behind the Drone Revolution. And I was already very amazed by Zehra's background. But if someone doesn't know you, just in a nutshell, how you ended up within the drone industry and what's the story?
Absolutely. So I started my career in the consulting space. And when I started working in the consulting space, I ended up working on a lot of tech projects. And so after doing consulting, I was at Deloitte, and before that at Accenture. After completing, a few years, I decided to move into the industry, and I started working at Spark Cognition, which is an AI company based here in Austin. And that's where we first envisioned the idea of what is now SkyGrid. And we worked with small UAVs. This is around like 6 years ago. On some projects, and we started working on the concept of what is now SkyGrid. We pitched it to Boeing, which was an investor at Spark Cognition, and that's how SkyGrid, became a joint venture between both the Boeing company and Spark Cognition. So I kind of helped draft the first business plan, lead the deal team to set up the company, and then since then I've moved into what is now SkyGrid.
Wow, if that would be this easy, you just have a great idea, you pitch it, Boeing, and wow, today you have SkyGrid. So I'm sure you guys had a fantastic, business solution. So what SkyGrid does, what's the magic behind, why Boeing, jumped on it? So if someone doesn't know SkyGrid, please.
Absolutely. So SkyGrid, as I said, is a joint venture between both parent companies, the Boeing company and Spark Cognition, and we're working to enable drones into the global airspace. And we envision a future where both, small UAVs, whereas larger eVTOLs and other vehicles are coexisting. And so SkyGrid solution is based on, we have a solution for smaller UAVs and smaller drones, which includes our application called SkyGrid Flight Control. It's a global application available online. You can download it anywhere for free. And as well as our enterprise solution. And then we also do some work with the DoD separately. But that's one side, so that's the smaller UAV space that we work on. And then we're also side by side working on, kind of the UAM space and the safety of life operations and how do we enable those. So that's a longer term mission that we've had since the beginning, and we're continuing to develop on that.
That's pretty impressive. So just which use cases are there as of today? I love real examples. I'm a big fan of those ones. So could you please share a few great, success stories from your side?
So on our side, some of the projects that I'm particularly really passionate about is that we did search and rescue missions over here in Austin with our emergency services. So there's a large green belt. We have people who, go into the green belt and get lost. And so we actually created a solution for EMS where they're able to launch multiple drones into the airspace. The area itself is divided between different drones depending on the altitude that you want to fly at. It covers that entire area. EMS wanted to have eyes on the ground because they want to see, what the person might be in and what condition they might be in. So essentially, the software launches, small UAVs remotely. You could be sitting somewhere else. And does that entire operation based on however number of drones you might need. And so we were able to identify people on the ground and help with search and rescue operations. So that's one of the use cases. We have some other use cases as well. For example, inspecting solar farms. We also have AI on the edge. So from the video that you're getting, you're able to tell, okay, is that a crack in a solar panel? And you're able to do all these inspections completely remotely if you have the waiver for it. and be able to cover large areas of land as well. So we enable everything from airspace awareness, giving you situational awareness to where you're flying. We're a FAA approved lands provider as well. So if you need authorization to fly over an area, you can use our application. We do the entire, remote launch and route planning. We also do, as I said, AI on the edge. So any kind of insights that you need. If you want to identify any particular object, we can train the model to do that for you as well. And then lastly, we also provide insights into the health of your drone and the particular mission. So you'd get battery life, kind of the how long the mission took exactly, when some action was taken, who flew it. So it's a very secure and safe system. And in addition to that, some of the use cases that we do for enterprise, we also work pretty closely with NASA and the FAA here. So we were part of the NC1 campaign, and we're doing, a lot of DAA and, detect and avoid for people who might not know, and deconfliction work as well. So we have advanced algorithms for deconfliction and detect and avoid. And we're working with NASA to kind of advance that. And in addition to that, obviously I mentioned, there are also eVTOLs that we work with. So Wisk, which is another Boeing joint venture, is a close partner of ours, as well as Lift Aircraft. And so we're figuring out how to enable safety of life operations and make those a reality. So we're working pretty closely with some of the vehicle OEMs on that piece as well.
I have a few takeaways from this, and one of them is AI. In my opinion, AI can enable a lot of added value services in our industry. So I'm not sure what's your takeaway on that, but with AI capabilities, you can really predict a lot of things. So how do you see this AI, capability within the industry, and do you have some lessons learned from this?
Yeah, so I think AI can do a lot, and we use AI as part of our platform in multiple ways. Not only can you do it for inspections, being able to detect things on the ground, send alerts to the operator, but also for route planning, because you can be able to predict kind of what might be the most frequently taken routes, what weather predictions as well. That's somewhere where you could use AI. So there are definitely a lot of applications. I think the lessons learned for us has been that we're able to see kind of how we've used it, where areas where we think it'll be more useful than the others. So in the future state, while we think it might be really useful, let's say you're trying to do AI detection on a vertiport, making sure a vertiport's safe and secure for something to land, that's a use case that we see in the future. But where we don't see using AI is kind of the entire pipeline of like takeoff, safe to fly, and land, because we think that in the near term, that's not something that we'll be able to prove as 100% safe. And so that's a technology that we'll incorporate maybe, a few years down the line. So there's a lot of applications for it all across the board, from being able to fly the drone, be able to detect, do safety for vertiports, route planning, because eventually in the future, if we have millions of drones in the sky, AI will be what we will have to kind of use to be able to do those n number of routes safely and securely. So I think there's some near-term applications and then some future-term applications as well.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. And I think sometimes we just need to simplify, do a certain task with a certain technology, meet with a purpose, deliver it, and done. We don't need to overcomplicate certain use cases, and others. But I think the point is you must be able to have the capability if you need it, and this is where I see SkyGrid has the unique value. It seems like with your software you can do so much, so the user and the drone can cherry pick, what needed. I feel like this, integrated a lot of algorithm and can use the right tool for the right purposes. I feel like this based on this discussion.
And we're also hardware agnostic. So, whatever hardware provider it might be, we're able to plug in and kind of work with them. So we worked everything from, DJI drones to Pixhawk-based drones, and then some larger drones as well, and eVTOL partners, etc. So we're hardware agnostic, and we particularly built the platform that way so that it's a technology that we envision would be really safe, secure, and that anyone should be able to use it.
That's definitely the future, in my humble opinion. So, I would love to learn your view about the future and business. You're a strategy officer, right? And so I'm really, really thirsty to understand your view. Where is the business going? What do you think, which other industries or activities we should kind of work together with? And we both know that drone as itself doesn't change the world. In my opinion, we need to kind of have a whole ecosystem around it. This is how this can be a useful tool. But where is the business in this? What's the next strategy direction what the whole industry would need to take to succeed?
Yeah, we're definitely changing, the future of aviation, right? So we're just definitely at the cusp of, we've seen a lot of growth the last 4 or 5 years. We've seen, waivers beyond visual line of sight operations. They're getting more and more frequent now. The technology is really getting there to kind of support those larger scale operations. And so the next, I say 4 or 5 years is definitely going to see even more growth. I think there's a lot of scope for not only smaller drone applications, kind of making those widespread, but also eVTOL and some of the, larger cargo vehicles to make deliveries, for example. So I think there's a lot of scope, and there's definitely a change in industry. But as you said, we all have to work together. So we're working pretty closely with other UTM providers, which is a legacy term that we're still using to kind of explain what the technology does. And now people are calling it PSU or something else. We've always called it an iOS system, an aerial iOS, because we think that kind of, we're going to power the operations of the future. But, it has to be a collaborative effort, and that's kind of the approach that we've taken too. So we're working with hardware providers, we're working with industry providers, we're working with other UTMs, we're working with radar providers as well, display providers, etc. So it's a vast ecosystem, and I think everyone's trying to solve for the same problem. I think there's less competition and kind of really a spirit of working together and solving this issue.
Great, Zehra. So, the $1 million question is, where is the money? What do you think? Which use cases currently are the ones which can generate revenue to this industry? And, I'm asking this because without revenue, we're not going to grow as an industry, and we must, understand which direction we should move towards to. The other question is that, what do you think, where is the business opportunity for long term? And how do you see this after, I don't know, closing investment rounds for companies? You are a strategic person. I'm just really curious to understand your view, because I'm sure you make everyday strategic decisions based on this as well, as it is a complex market.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yes, as you said, there's a short-term question and answer, and there's a long-term answer. In the short term, I think there's a lot of money in inspections, so oil and gas inspections, energy inspections. I think there's a lot of insight that you're able to add. There's also revenue in some of the surveillance aspects of what the drones can provide, essentially, and essentially ISR missions, etc. So that's kind of the short term, I think, revenue piece versus long term. I foresee that in the future, we think that it'll likely be in urban environments, in short-term flights, either passenger flights or cargo carrying flights. And so that's another longer-term kind of large revenue, piece where I think the industry is going to head. But obviously, we're far from that right now, and it's really about finding like a safe, secure solution for safety of life operations. And that's kind of what we're focused at here at SkyGrid right now.
Thanks. That sounds amazing, Zehra. It was a really, really great talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Esther.